So joining us this morning is best-selling author, coach Lisa Goldenthal.
Hello and welcome. I'm Lisa G, your host. You're at the top of your game, yet the game is changing faster than ever. Strategies that got you here aren't the ones that'll keep you here. The pressure is relentless, and the fear of obsolescence looms large. That's why I'm here. Welcome to the new podcast series, Disrupted: How to Be Gritty and Unlock Performance in Business, Mindset, Wellness, and Success. Welcome to Whole CEO with Lisa G. I'm so excited today. We're sitting down with Ari Rastegar, just recently named the Oracle of Austin from Forbes magazine. He's the founder and CEO of Rastegar Property Company, thought leader in real estate with his innovative technology-driven investment strategies. He specializes in recession-resilient real assets and multifamily real estate developments, building portfolios designed to reduce risks. And he's a frequent contributor to the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, and CBS. Ari, I am so excited to welcome you.
Thank you for having me.
This is so cool. Well, I really like a lot of things about your story. Obviously, you're a rock star, and that goes without saying, but I really want to delve into your story and how you discovered TM and what TM even is for our audience who might not be familiar.
So TM is short for Transcendental Meditation. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually a very large contributor to their organization. It's an ancient Vedic tradition, so it dates back at least 10,000 years. There's 5 to 10,000 years. There's some discussions there. It was brought over in the 50s by a gentleman named Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and he kind of got famous by teaching the Beatles meditation. And this is not a belief. This is not religion. It is a technique and really a technology more than anything. And what I love about it is I've been a practitioner for years, doing the technique morning and night, twice a day, a minimum of 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the afternoon. I've done a series of advanced techniques, but that's another discussion. But effectively, what I love about it is I'm such a data freak. I was an English major in undergrad, and I started when I was in law school. It's another discussion. But working, running the business, building a business, and having to be absolutely relentless, to use your word, and go through those things. A doctor recommended prescribing me some sort of anti-anxiety, medication and stuff like that. And being the book nerd that I am, being an English major in undergrad, and I heard Ray Dalio, who is obviously, those who know Ray is just extraordinary. I don't know him very well personally. I've met him a couple of times, but they asked him, "What is the number one key to your success?" And I was expecting whatever you would expect, my MBA, running numbers, whatever you would think, right? And he said, the practice of transcendental meditation.
I love it. So Ray Dalio, I'm familiar with him. I don't run with him necessarily or haven't met him, but
he's the guy.
He's the most, isn't he one of the wealthiest hedge fund people in the world?
It's not only that he's one of the wealthiest, he's probably worth 20 or 25 billion bucks, but what's most interesting about Ray is he wrote a book called Principles, and he has the most personal integrity, the most humanistic integrity, and he has codified that into a book called Principles that everybody should read if they haven't, about his workforce. And he pioneers this concept called radical transparency, where literally everybody speaks their mind in a radically transparent way to come up with the right answer and take ego out of the equation. And he really created a model and a system around this massive amount of integrity. And he runs the largest hedge fund in the world. So to put that in perspective, if you're managing $1 million, it's exponentially easier to turn $1 million into $2 million than it is to turn 100 billion into 200 billion just because there's deals are limited and money is not. Does that make sense? Like there's more money than there is deals. So he runs the largest hedge fund in the world with 156 billion. They've never had a losing year in over 30 years. And he operates with the highest level of integrity, kindest man in the world. And he's been a hero of mine my entire life. So that really threw me off. And so I started studying TM. And if you look at, Ellen DeGeneres, the Beatles, Jerry Sein, just go down the list. Once you start looking at the people that are successful in this world that do TM, it's so mind-bogglingly insane how many successful people do it, which I think is great. And I went to go learn it. But the reason I stuck with it was not that it just worked, which it does. And you really don't do anything. Like it's about being more than doing. You don't stop your thoughts. You don't, you can go to a local TM training facility in almost every city in the United States and learn the technique. It's an hour a night for 3 nights, super easy. Anyone can do it. But what I love about it, it's been studied scientifically at over 180 universities across the world. And what they've done, brain scans, hormone level testings, and all these other things. And what it does to your brain by lowering your cortisol levels, lowering your stress levels physiologically. So forget about the woo-woo of, look, mindfulness. There's a lot of great things about mindfulness you've heard about, or other meditation, guided meditations, those things. And I think there's great benefit to those things. I don't really practice them, but I think people have tremendous benefit. This one has been studied for over 60 years by universities all over the world and have definitive data on what it does to you metabolically. And that it literally lowers your stress, literally makes you feel better, literally secretes serotonin and dopamine and decreases the cortisol levels in your body. And so being kind of a data science freak, as I am as an investment manager, or as a real estate manager, investment manager, risk manager, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. That was the final crux. So I was like, okay, it works. And I have mountains of data that have been tested and double-blind tested to show that it actually works. I love that. And none of the other practices can speak to that. There's some studies that have been done, but not nearly, not even like a tip of the iceberg of the studies that have been done on TM. And it has been an absolute life changer for me. And I got to meet Ray at a conference, I guess about 5 or 6 years ago, and I went up on stage kind of shamelessly, really just to thank him. I just said, look, you're a hero of mine. I don't want to take your time, but I heard about TM of what you said, and I went and learned. And he looks at me and goes, it's good, right? I love that. It was just like this funny moment where I was like, yeah, it is. And that was it. It was just like, walked away. Like, nothing to talk about. Enough said. I love that. Personally, I love the way you got away from having to take medication by meditation. And I know TM is specific, but meditation itself has helped gotten me through the last year of insanity with the coronavirus. So I feel like I'm a big believer in meditation. And now I'm going to try TM just based on your recommendation. I could not recommend it more for anybody. For everybody. Not just, but for entrepreneurs in general. I read this funny definition of an entrepreneur, that an entrepreneur is someone that jumps off the side of a cliff and builds a plane on the way down. That's me. Right. It's like this funny, kind of, definition of the risks that we take, the stress that we deal with, and, all the stuff that goes along with it that we all know. And there's great joys that come along with doing it as well, helping a lot of people, contributing, building things, creating products that make lives easier, and the why of why we do it, certainly why I do it. It's definitely not the money whatsoever. We've been successful and great, but I'm in love with the process, and this is who I am. It's not what I do. But TM has brought me equanimity, has brought me more compassion, has brought me a little bit of peace. And I find that when I deal with situations, I was joking with a friend of mine the other day that we got into a heated negotiation, and, you know, friendly, but it was aggressive. And afterwards, I gave him a big hug and say, hey, I'm really sorry I didn't meditate before this meeting, because, you know, because if I would have meditated before this meeting, I think it would have gone a little bit better. So, yeah.
I love that you also bring up compassion, because I know in leadership, there's not enough talk about how important it is to listen to people and be empathetic and compassionate as a leader. Don't you think that that's also helped
It's
you?
everything. You know, I think everybody should watch the TED Talk, The Power of Vulnerability. And if you haven't watched it, it's incredible. You can get it on YouTube. I love YouTube.
Oh, I love that talk. I've totally listened to it. She's amazing.
I love them all. I love YouTube just because I can literally watch the greatest professors in the world at MIT teach quantum physics for free from my iPhone. You know, it's like people that want to learn or are curious. Like, I was an English major. Everybody who knows me knows that I read 10 to 15 books a week, at least, literally. And so I'm just a curious person, you know, like I like to learn, and the more I learn, the more I kind of realize I don't know shit, which is kind of annoying. But, you know, I thought I'd figure something out by now, but I really haven't. But long story short, yeah, like it's being vulnerable is mission critical when you deal with people, because vulnerability, we've been trained to think that means that you're weak. But being vulnerable means that you're being raw. It means you're being authentic. And at this point in my life, being a father of 3, you know, I'm looking for congruency. I want to be congruent in my daily life, congruent in my business, congruent in my core values. No matter who I deal with, if I'm building a building, you know, do we want to have profitability to employ people? Absolutely. But you don't need to be an asshole. Like, you don't need to go out and, you know, try to scrape every penny or do this and be some shark on Wall Street. You know, you can find situations that are win-win. You can look at the other person's perspective. And what I found is in that vulnerability of just saying something that maybe made you uncomfortable or something that hurt your feelings, or breeds such a level of productivity that is immeasurable. I mean, to say to somebody, a coworker, or say to a peer that, hey, when you said that hurt my feelings, and somebody's supposed to be this tough, like whatever kind of person, it really lets their guards down. They share something, because so much can be lost, because 85% of communication is nonverbal. We know that scientifically. So sometimes the words that come out of our mouth aren't congruent with what we really think. So when we're vulnerable and we, you know, have that opportunity to just take a time out for 1 second, it breeds unbelievable productivity, but more importantly, it fosters fulfillment. And we know that happy workers, happy people do happy work. Right. You know, and so even if moralistically you don't agree with it, it's good business.
I love it. Well, I love, speaking of vulnerable, obviously, like, being compassionate and vulnerable makes people want to open up and do the same. But I know you haven't always been the Oracle of Austin. Tell me a little bit about failing forward and how you have learned from things like that.
Yeah, I failed a lot. You know, my book coming out in June is called The Gift of Failure. And you're not going to hear anything in there about the so-called success I've had in my life. And this is Ari, right? I'm wearing my sweats, and I'm, you know, catch me in Lululemon and a Rastegar hat and kind of, you know, whatever, because it's comfy. And I'm a worker, right? You know, and not having a traditional business background, having, you know, being the child of immigrants. Thank God I was born in the greatest country in the world. And I'm not going to give you some sob story, but I worked really hard. I flipped burgers through high school. I you know, delivered pizzas through college. I started with a $3,000 loan when I was in law school, and now we have hundreds of billions in assets, and I own the whole company. I never sold, you know, any equity out to, you know, VC firms or anything of the sort. And, you know, we'll break $1 billion in the next 12 months. And we did it with that level of vulnerability and that level of compassion. And I assure you, I made all the mistakes along the way, taking the back money, going in and just making a harebrained move, missing something on a spreadsheet, thinking a deal would take, 2 years, it took 4, or, simple, just, and it's not just the failures. Like, we all have the failures that, I call hauntings, that just still keep you up at night. And I have those as well. And I share a lot of them in the book, but it's just the day-to-day failures. It's that one moment where maybe you're a little rude to the person you're walking down the street to, or, maybe you just said that a little bit, the wrong way, or maybe you said it's these little failures along the way. And not to be cliched or trite, but the little things are the big things. So the failures that I've experienced are every day. They're in little moments where you could have acted in a different way, or you could have showed up, or you could have gone to that meeting, that you're maybe a little too tired to go to. But within all those failures, if you have introspection, which takes vulnerability, and you look back into that, not with guilt, not with self-deprecation, but with true honesty of looking for a solution. I spend 95% of my time finding a solution and 5% on the problem.
I love that. Oh, well, I feel like no failure is a failure if we learn from it and move forward. And
it's all we spend the vast majority of our lives failing. That's like, I'll give you an example. So we have 3 beautiful children, and our youngest, Isabella, is 1. Okay, so she was just learning to walk, right? Our oldest is 8, Victoria, our Kingston, is 5, our son. And so just a simple example of a toddler. So toddler is starting to walk. They try to stand up for 1 second. They fall down. What do you say? Oh, they'll never be able to walk again, and just get up again. And they try again, and you say, oh, good job. And they hold on to the little side of the thing. They fall over. We literally learn by failing. So it's not, so we bifurcated success and failure as 2 different ecosystems, but the essence of any type of success is the result of failure. It's a cause and effect relationship.
I love that way you spin it. It's so amazing. Do you have any other advice that you want to leave our audience with on how to go from stuck to unstoppable if they're feeling a little stuck? Or any advice at all about being unstoppable?
I'm look, I'm reluctant to give advice in general, because everybody's so different. We have different constitutions. We have different love languages. We have different, ways of communication. But I can share with you things, maybe something that's worked for me. And right now, especially right now with the mental trauma people have gone through, the suffering people have endured, y'all have either directly or indirectly been affected by COVID-19 in some way, shape, or form. Some of us much worse than others, and they have my heart, they have my prayers. But this is the greatest time to be an entrepreneur. There is more, and the reason why people ask me, they'll say, Ari, I want to be really rich. And I go, okay, great. I'm sure you can do that. That's awesome. What do I do? I was like, it's actually really simple. Find a really big problem and solve it. And in that problem, solve somebody else's problem. And the bigger the problem and the more convenience, efficiency, and cost effectiveness that you can provide your end user and consumer, the more money you'll make.
That's great. Solve problem.
As much money as you want, that's it. They just solve a big problem. Find a big problem and solve it. Look at the other side of the equation, like Jack Welch, the old CEO of GE, rest in peace. He was a great man. So Jack Welch, rest in peace, beautiful man, unbelievable CEO, unbelievable chairman. He had a mantra about product. And he said that when we create a product here at GE, we need to be objective and sit on the other side of the equation and be the consumer. And if we can, in good faith, with integrity, believe that the product that we have created, even if there's a 5,000% markup and they're making $1 gazillion, if to the consumer, they believe that they're making out like a bandit, and it's helping them in whatever shape or form and making their lives easier or offering a convenience or a piece of entertainment that they genuinely, authentically need at that price point, that's what we're bringing to market.
I love the values that you talk about, and values are so important. And I really appreciate that you took the time to come to Whole CEO with Lisa G and impart your wisdom and truth bombs here. Where can people find you, Ari?
Look, you can just Google Ari Rastegar, type in Rastegar. You can apparently I have an Instagram now, which I just learned recently, which is at Rastegar. My little brother actually told me that I have a verified Instagram account, and apparently that's a big deal.
Of course.
I'm a young old man, just so you know. I don't even own a computer. I do everything off my phone, or printed. So I'm kind of old school in that regard. But you can just Google my name. You can go to our site, rastegarproperty.com, or find me on Instagram. I'm pretty easy to. It's been pretty public what we've done.